Joakim, thank you very much for the time.
Thank you for having me.
Busy times at the moment, obviously.
Very busy times, yes.
And answering the same questions all over again, probably as well.
I must say I'm positively surprised, even though you know, a lot of it is focused around the new album. But hey, that's the reason we're doing this, so that's natural. But almost every interview had something like, oh, you know, surprisingly nice. So.
You said new album coming out soon. The Great War, about World War I. How much history does one need to know to understand, to follow the album? I mean, you're a history teacher now.
Oh,
teach me history.
Let me get one thing straight. We are happy metalheads. And yes, we are, I guess we could be considered having expert knowledge there. But when it comes to history, we are very passionate about it, but we are amateurs. But we gotta get actually, you know, we're so much in love with the discovery phase of it all. So, you know, discovering stuff is what I do all the time. It's not like I'm only reading history or anything when we're making an album. But I only kind of scratch the surface, and if I find something interesting, we put it aside and save it for later. So, I mean, you don't have to have, you know, a huge historical amount of expert knowledge or expertise to understand what we're singing about. But there's going to be, if you know very little, you're going to miss a lot of Easter eggs in the lyrics, or, you know, understanding why we phrased ourselves like that.
The new album is basically, I think, about the First World War.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't have the lyrics for all the songs, but it's stories. Mm-hmm. Single stories, not a whole story.
No, there's no story arc like we had on Carolus Rex, where we had, you know, follow the Swedish Empire's rise and fall over 100 years. We thought we were going to do some sort of, you know, story arc going over it, but then we ran into so many problems. Only by the simple fact the track list. We want the listening experience to be a roller coaster. You're covering, well, we are covering, you know, the Battle of Verdun. It lasted 303 days. Where is that? We're covering the Red Baron. He was, you know, fighting for quite some time. Where will we put him in the timeline? Because there might be events before him and after him, or during his career. So we decided to focus on basically a collection of stories in that time.
Music-wise, I've listened to the album many times. It's typical Sabaton, and still you found ways to put new elements in. Somehow, I mean, Red Baron, for example. Okay, you had the Hammond thing on Blood of Bannockburn already, but that Red Baron, I heard it first time, that killed me.
Oh.
Amazing song, we're serious. I mean,
Thank you.
And the Great War seems like a little bit like Carolus Rex. Would you agree? From the type of sound.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it is a bit more atmospheric, and also connecting it all. It's possible to do in so many ways, because to take The Last Stand, for example. We are covering from the Soviet-Afghan conflict in the 80s all the way back to before Christ, the Spartans. So that's a huge expanse both geographically and also on the timeline, because we're also in Japan, you know, that album. So how do you make a coherent production where everything belongs? It's really hard. And also, in a way, The Last Stand, it is a bit of a heroic act, because, you know, even, of course there's death and destruction, but a last stand, it's a heroic thing, and in many cases celebrated. So it's a bit or more upbeat theme. This, on the other hand, it's darker, and it's all concentrated so much. So it is easier to get a coherent atmosphere, and I think this one is a bit darker than The Last Stand, for example.
I would say so.
And it's, as you said, you can really hear it's Sabaton, but there is a few departures there. Listening to it's like, starts with a little bit of a surprise, and then it goes into familiar Sabaton territory, and you think like, okay, I got this now, and then, whee, a little detour. And then at the end, we really lift it up.
Yeah, in Flanders Fields, amazing thing. I absolutely love that song. But you don't have anything to do with that. I mean, who's singing that?
Oh, it's
in Flanders Fields?
It's the same lovely people who has been singing with us and doing our choirs for a long time now.
Okay.
And I mean, the only thing we had to do with it is I wrote the music, but the lyrics was made by someone else. So it's a Sabaton song without Sabaton.
It's a cool song, amazing. You said you were writing music. Are you still doing most of the thing, or is
mostly
others like Chris, Tommy, and everybody today take part in songwriting?
More now than ever in Sabaton's history. I'm still what do you call it? It sounds weird, but I would guess the best way to explain it is a sort of musical director. You know, when it comes to everything from the songwriting, I am always involved. But I'm by no means the only one. I made 3 songs with Chris, 1 with Tommy, and as usual, me and Per working on the concept and the lyrics and stuff like that. So no, it's fun. And also, yeah, the song "Feels Overdone" was written with Tobbe, who's left the band 2.5 years ago.
It's true. He did guitar solo on Sabaton.
Yeah, we recorded the song. We wrote the song together. So of course he's gonna play the solo, you know.
But funny enough, the first song you released before the album was Bismarck.
Yeah.
And a very cool video clip to it. And why? It's not on the album.
No.
Does somebody like me who doesn't have Spotify and doesn't watch or listen music by YouTube, but on physical CDs, have any chance to get that song?
Here's the thing, maybe in the future, but we tried something and maybe we didn't communicate this well enough. We are looking at the 20th anniversary of Sabaton, and we are maybe not a revolutionary band, but there's always a constant evolution going on. And instead of looking backwards, releasing a box set, trying to get people to buy you know, music they already bought once again, you know. We thought, how about we do a song and give it away for free? And which topic should it be? The most requested topic from our fans, Bismarck. And we thought we make a cool video, we release it on YouTube for free, and we don't monetize it. It's like, thank you all for 20 years of service. Here's from us, you know, to you. And we wanted it to be like the song itself to represent those 20 years. So you have this old, like almost, it feels like Primo Victoria sometimes, with the long instrumental interludes and breaks, and then also, yeah, a bit of a different choir than usual. So, you know, we tried to show 20 years of evolution in one song, you know, and yeah, that was the idea. And then people got really angry. Why the fuck isn't it on Spotify? And we were like, sorry, but the idea wasn't so we could sell you something. It was to say thank you and give it to you for free. But however, we have now learned that it might be up to us to create the music, but the lesson is learned. It's up to you guys to decide how or where you want to listen to it. So we're going to try to be much better at that in the future. We're still going to be doing music as, you know, per normal. We're not going to ask you to write the music for us. Absolutely not. That's our thing. Don't take that away. But yeah, I think you will see more of that in the future from us. That we'll not be the ones controlling or trying to control or steer anyone in the direction. Everyone has their own favorite format. Some people like vinyls. Some people want streaming. Some people want a physical CD. And we still haven't figured out how, but we're going to try and somehow figure out how to give people more freedom. How to do that.
You spoke about the video clip you made. Is this to protect your knee now? You said somewhere that no knee was harmed during filming the video clip as well.
No knees were harmed. No, actually, over the years I've been banging my knee so much that this part of my upper thigh or knee, it's become so conditioned. When I recorded the Bismarck video, my hand or our lower arm was swollen because I was hammering so hard, and I really was like the joints were separating. So I had a lot of pain for 2 or 3 days, but here, nothing.
Okay, at least knee was okay.
Yeah, so knee is safe. Don't worry, folks. It's good.
After many years of presence in Europe, last year you played very few festivals and you were nowhere to be found in Europe. Did you realize somehow that you were in Europe too much, almost too much. It was time to go back a little bit.
Yeah,
that people would take notice and would be eager for Sabaton again.
Be hungry a bit. But especially also we wanted to take some extra time in the city. This is a huge undertaking, you know, this project, making an album about it. The amount of research going into it, the anguish of writing the songs. Trust me, this was a rough place to be, and but I hope it turned out well. I guess I'm the worst guy to ask. You know, is the new Sabaton album any good? What the fuck? I've been doing nothing else for the last 9 months than working with it. So you should have probably asked someone else than me. But I have a good feeling about it. But as you said, we didn't do much in Europe. We went to Japan for a few shows. We did a few festivals, but not that many. But mainly that was because we wanted to focus on this as well. And of course, we didn't want to stand completely still because, you know, it's like people, some bands are like that, and we're all different, like, oh, vacation, and I'm thinking, yeah, it's nice for 2 days, but I mean, I love playing music, so if we don't have a show in 2 weeks, sometimes that can be nice, because we've been on tour. But if we don't have a show in 3 months, I'm like, for fuck's sake, I'm gonna get something to do, you know? So, yeah.
Workaholic.
Yes and no. I can be the laziest guy, but for a very short amount of time.
Next, you started tour with Hammerfall in the States, what I saw, unbelievable. Remember the shows at Set 7 when you opened up for Hammerfall. Well, how's that going to be now that they will be opening up for you?
Oh, well, there are no hard feelings, and I mean,
no, of course not.
They are, you know, some really nice guys, and I'm just happy, you know, that they are cool with it, because not so many bands would be, you know. It says something about them, and it's also a bit natural. They took a long break, so I mean, for a band to take a long break, it's a bit harder to get back in the game, you know, and not because of anything, but people forget very, very fast these days, and that's, you know, the trick. How can you be
present?
How can you be present in this day and age when there is somebody trying to get your attention or sell you anything all of the time, and how to break through that noise and at the same time not be there all the time so people are fucking tired of you. Also one of the reasons we rested down before doing this.
How big will the venues be in the States?
In the States, it'll be between 1,500 and 3,000.
All right.
And as it's looking from pre-sales, it's probably gonna be all sold out.
But it's not gonna be like the very big production, obviously. Like
not what we can do in Europe. No.
Yeah.
We are still bringing the biggest one we had in the US. Absolutely. I mean, the whole.
But without all the pyros and stuff, probably.
Depends. They're very sensitive about pyros after the Great White accident in the United States, so it depends on it. But no, I think it wouldn't make sense to bring pyros, because then we could only do it in this show, and then on this show, and then at this show, and people would be angry that they didn't get the pyro show.
And the next part, I think, is Russia. I think it's a true. You get quite a few dates in Russia. That would be
all the way from Vladivostok to St. Petersburg.
Wow. That was but you've played in Russia before, I think.
Yeah,
we've single shows, or
you know, we've done a few tours actually, but nothing like this expansive. I mean, we are hitting really hard, but Russia is a crazy place, and I really love it. It's very different and it's huge. I mean, if you get on a flight in St. Petersburg, you know, you will be almost, you know, airplane, I don't know for how many hours, but you know, it's probably going to take you 10 or something like that to go all the way to Vladivostok. Because you're still the same country.
Yeah, pretty big.
Yeah, I mean, it's so cool. Then you're playing in Vladivostok, and then next you move off to Khabarovsk, and then at some point, depending on where you go, you are close to the border to China or to North Korea sometimes. Then you get on the, you know, you're all of a sudden in Siberia. Maybe you do a train ride between the shows, overnight train there.
Right.
Adventures for sure. Not everything always turns out the way you expect, but it makes for very good touring memories.
And then comes Europe next year, I think.
There will be Europe, of course.
The biggest shows probably so far.
Yes, absolutely. We, for some strange reason, European promoters of festivals don't like us to talk about our future European touring plans until we play the festival summer. But let's say like this, we are by no means the smartest guys on the planet, we're not. But we would also like to think that we are not totally fucking stupid. Yeah? And it would be totally fucking stupid not to tour Europe on this album.
Good, good. Yeah, I guess so. Talk about the set list. I mean, on the last tour you had your set list for every show, and you didn't change it anymore. Are these days over? Like, you know,
oh yeah, we did change it. Trust me, but depends on where you're touring from. You know, maybe within Germany,
yeah,
it's not going to change, but it's going to be totally different between Poland and Germany and Czech Republic.
All right.
Different songs are well, for obvious reasons. In Poland, we have a few songs about Polish history they really want to hear. So when in Finland, it's a different set list. So it's not that dynamical within the same country, but you know, on a more European scale, it changes a lot for us.
And I hope you got some surprises planned, like Final Solution last time. So
yeah.
You don't have to tell. Just say yes. There's surprises.
Yeah, I can actually tell you a few things because they've already kind of been given away a little bit in Pilsen.
Yeah.
And the people have seen the pictures, and we don't want to keep stuff secret, only to be secret, if it's possible. And a thing like this, during the Great War, obviously we have created a whole new stage set. We didn't build only on what we had before. We took something totally new, both with the stage, how it looks, this new stage clothes. Also, at the same time, we had a new album that we can bring into the fold. And here's a cool thing that we thought of by accident later. We have covered stories from World War I in our past. It makes total sense now to dig out, what do you call hardcore fan favorites that haven't been in rotation for some time.
Price of a Mile.
Price of a Mile, yeah. Isn't that a logical step? Of course, Cliffs of Gallipoli was sort of on the last rotation on the festivals. So, we already did that. And in that case, we're going to, prioritize Price of a Mile because I like it a lot, and it's kind of been forgotten on the last two runs. So there's a lot of cool stuff we can do there.
Your lyrics always about war, and wars are actual. It's a thing that you hear in the media all the time. But funny enough, your stories always go back. Like the youngest war, I think, was you mentioned Hill 32, 34. From Soviet Union, Afghanistan. You never make lyrics about actual wars. Is there a reason? Is it like out of respect for?
Out of respect for facts, and we don't do politics. Yeah. It's a high risk of, if dealing with something right now, that even though we try to do our best to find the facts, that we'd be subject to propaganda, because I've seen, many world events happening and unfolding while we were on tour and flying between countries. And man, it's kind of scary that you see news reports in 3 different countries and what different stories you hear about the same event. And we don't want that. I mean, we're controversial enough as it is, Every Sabaton song we do is going to piss someone off or possibly make someone happy as well. So we have chosen to stay far away as far away as possible from religious and political statements, if you know what I mean. We will happily. We're dealing with those topics, because they're very prevalent in military history. But we won't tell people what to think and stuff like that. We want to tell the stories. Of course, politics, death and destruction of religion is going to be a part of military history. But it's not up to us to tell people how it is. And it's kind of nice to be there as well, because I think everywhere I look, there's an actor or a musician or somebody, a politician, telling people what to eat, what to vote for, what to drive, what to think. And how about we will be one of the few bands who don't tell people these things.
That's a good thing, yeah. But I still think it must be heavily difficult between telling a story story about war and glorifying war.
No, it's not.
How
you can still tell a story about how somebody glorified war without glorifying war.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very interesting, but people have this perception that musicians want to leave a message, which is totally, I understand, because it's been used for, you know, political reasons, for example, since the 60s. And so for a lot of people, when an artist says something, it's because artists don't know when to shut the fuck up sometimes. People are so used to there being a message that they're trying to interpret it as a message. But for movies, people already accept this is a story. So for example, nobody would fucking ask Steven Spielberg if he's a Nazi when he did the movie Schindler's List.
Mm-hmm.
It's totally normal. If we would have done the same thing, telling a story of a Nazi, kind of in a good light, bam, you know, everybody would be slapping. So it's about the, you know, medium you're using, and we know, controversial enough as it is, and we are always at risk of people, well, putting us into contexts when there is none, you know. We just want to tell the stories.
Good. We said you're kind of a workaholic. Is there actually a life besides Sabaton?
Yeah, there is, of course. Not much of it, though. I mean, we're here in Nuclear Blast. Behind us here, there are some pinball machines. That's one of my favorite hobbies, actually.
Serious?
Yeah, I really love to play pinball. Have some fun, relax. Especially when I'm, you know, writing songs, so it brings it back into work again, I guess. But it's not like I don't feel bad about it, because one of the best things I know is writing music.
Mm-hmm.
So if I get bored, you're gonna find me by the piano. And that's my hobby.
Pam actually asked about you always do some cover versions as well. And he asked, do you know the song 1916 from Motorhead?
Mm-hmm.
Would you cover that?
I don't know.
He is the big fan of Motorhead. And
the lyrics are amazing of that song. You get goosebumps while listening.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know, actually. We decided not to do any covers at all this time, basically because this whole project, everything around it, and setting it up, also getting some really good videos, which we haven't done in a while, you know. There was simply no, exactly, because sometimes doing a cover and doing it well, with respect, and also putting your own touch to it, it's gonna take as much time sometimes than making a whole new Sabaton song.
Mm. And a last question. I remember you losing a bet and had to walk a march to I don't know how many miles, and you had to postpone it. Did you finish it by now?
Fuck you. No, I didn't.
No, I didn't. To bring something up, which should
I will have to finish it. It was about 700 kilometers. I only did 500. Yeah, I suck. It will happen someday. I said I was going to finish it, but I didn't say that. So.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. Great pleasure. Hope to see you on tour sometime.
Yeah.
Probably in the States.
Okay.
I think I have to come over, because if I don't come over, it would be the first year since 2006 without a Sabaton show for me.
Aha! No festivals this year, though.
No,
we are.
I'm not at Greenfield. I'm somewhere else in.
Okay.
And you play in Switzerland, and I think I have to come over to Florida quickly.
I'll tell you from Greenfield then.
Yeah.
I'll let you know how it was.
Going there. Yeah, right. No, actually, I have to wait until Europe next year.
Some final words to the Swiss fans, to readers and viewers of Metalinside.ch?
Well, you're recording now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm recording it.
Thank you all for all the good times and all the good memories. You know, it's a very common question to get at the end, that have you got some final words? I've been thinking about, 20 different answers over the years, and it also actually, it's so fucking basic. It comes down to that. Thank you for, all the good times. And this goes for not only Swiss fans, but for most of our fans. Not all. Some of you are dicks, but most are super nice. So, thanks.
One is there.
Yeah.